So we are here today because guess what? Today is Women Veterans Day. We can clap about that one. We are we are excited. We are so excited about that. But the only part about it is we don't have 100% of the states that are actually running this today or even thinking about it. I'm not sure, so we got work to do. That's all I'm going to say. We have work to do, and that's all of us. All of us have to put ourselves together to do those things that are for us. Because guess what? We care about each other. Do we care about each other? We care about each other. So we want to make sure that we are going to be there for every last one of them in every state, okay? And at this time, we're going to move down the road here. You're going to actually tell your name. You're going to tell us when you went into the military, and we're going to stop right there, and then we're going to come back around with something else. How about that? Okay.
Good morning. I am Kendra Dorsey, Army veteran. I went into the military, active duty, 1992, and I stayed for 3 years active, but active and reserve, 11 years.
All right.
I'm Carol McCullough, U.S. Army. I entered in 1975.
Okay.
Michelle McGee, U.S. Army, entered in 1986.
Beverly Bailey, Navy, entered in 1980.
Great, great. Now, I didn't know that you were in the Navy. Now you done messed up what I was going to do. And because that, I won't do it this time, just because you're here, okay? I won't do it today. But we'll do it before we leave here, won't we?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take care of that. All right, and so let's talk about when you went into the military. How old were you? If you don't have to want to say your age, I know for me, I was only 17 years old, so I'm one of those ones that kind of like slipped through the teach there. So if you want to, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay too. But give us just a little bit of when you went in and what you had expectations were and what did not happen for you, maybe that you got surprised with. That was a lot, wasn't it?
My expectations, I just wanted them to pay for school.
Mm-hmm.
That was my expectation.
Okay.
When I went into the Army, when I was sworn in, I was 25 years old. I had looked at the military 5 years prior to that, where I saw that the only jobs open when I had graduated from a university, the only jobs open for women were clerical for the most part. And so when I went in 1975, I wanted to do more. I wanted to serve my country. I wanted to be more than what I was at that point.
So Carol, before we move on, now you are a WAC, Women's Army Corps, is that correct?
I was Women's Army Corps for 10 weeks. At the end of 10 weeks, then I went into the Military Police Corps.
Okay.
Whole nother ballgame.
Okay, we'll get to that.
I actually also went in at 17. I turned 18 while in basic training. I went in, honestly, to win a bet. I was heading to, a state university out of high school, and the Army recruiters and things were calling. And, my dad said, I don't know why they're calling you. You're not going to make it. Nobody's going to put up with that now. And I said, what do you mean? I said, I just speak my mind. He's like, yeah, but you can't do that in the military. And I said, well, I bet you I could. He said, I bet you if you make it 2 years, I'll buy you a car. Well, there you have it. You're talking to a 16-year-old. You're going to buy them a car and call it naive or whatever, but I don't regret it at all. It's a great day to be a vet every day. I went in the Army. I graduated in June, left for basic training in July, and the rest is history.
All right.
My case is different. I always wanted to be in the military. I always liked the idea of uniforms. And my grandmother, she always said, I had 5 boys and 3 of them went away to the service and I didn't have any trouble. I am now one of them. So I took my cue from there. And I joined Army ROTC in my second year of high school. And won a couple of awards, a medal one time, a certificate the other time. And I went in the delayed entry program December 1979. I went active duty July 25th, 1980. And I had my son and got married in the service.
All right, great, great. Now, is it any way that you can just say, I would think, how did the men accept you all coming into the military when you went? You know, because you had different, things that you were doing for the military. And how did that work out for you from the job that you actually went into?
I didn't have any problem with the men as far as the job. Um, I had other issues in other areas, and we'll just leave that there. But I was expecting gender bias. It wasn't as prevalent as I had anticipated. There were some other biases that were very, very present that I didn't anticipate, so that was a flip. They were supportive. I mean, you know, I don't know, because I was a small, petite person, they just saw me as a little girl, and, you know, then when they saw the personality, they said, oh, no, this is a whole grown woman. So, yeah, I didn't have any issue, thank God, in that area.
Same here. They accepted us. I know I was told that, they was making preparations for women in the service in 75. So when I went in, they was already acceptable of women.
Wonderful.
Going in 1975, when I was a direct commission, that was a way to start bringing women in who had minimally a bachelor's degree, but trying to get us in before the women were going to be coming from collegiate ROTC programs, and then, of course, by 1980 from military academies. Well, as a WAC, we were on our own, but we were competing at Fort McClellan with on marches with the military police corps. So immediately there was a challenge. You know, the female officers we had wanted to make certain that we won whatever competition was set up, that the WACs were going to beat out the military police. Going to a military police company after training with many men, the young men that we were in training with were fine with us as females. However, I was a distinguished graduate from my class from the military police officer basic course. The photos were put in the trash can. I was never offered anything else as male distinguished graduates were. I went to an MP company that was deployable, as well as doing the road duty. They sent two of us as females there on purpose, I'm sure, because at every stage, we were not wanted. We were told by and what we read, no MPs said this to our face, but we wish you'd serve us breakfast in bed. We wish you would find some other place. Can't you leave us alone? Mm-hmm. So the standard for us was typically higher.
Of course.
We had to do as much or more than our male counterparts.
Okay.
And it was leading to the point where 5 years later, it was not an issue. Even within 2 years, women were being accepted in a different way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. I felt like I was accepted, but as some of the panel speakers are saying, there were issues in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And were this the first time that you all left home?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay, so, and how did you, kind of ease that in, and not be afraid and not, have any other ways that, how we get a little bit, I might want to go home now, with any time that you had that?
No. I am one of those people, if I stick to it and let the Lord say no, I'm keep going. It got hard, it got lonely, but I had something to do. And I couldn't be like, oh, I was lonely, I miss my friends. No. And then I would get my car.
Did you see any of that from others?
Oh, yeah.
I know, that's why I brought it up. That's why I brought it up. It was such a, it was horrible in so many ways. Go ahead.
It was difficult for me because my first duty station was Germany. So when they told me I was going to Germany, I'm like, can you take my name off that line? It was very tough. And then I didn't go home on leave. I think I got there and it was a year before I went away and to come home. So it was very tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Mm-hmm.
I can agree to the lady over here to my right. It was hard for me in a way because I was stationed in Greece. That was my first duty station. And I had times where I was lonely and I miss I miss my family, but the only thing is my mother wrote me, my sister wrote me, my father wrote me, my aunts wrote me, so that helped me a lot.
Okay.
You do boot camp.
All right.
Yes, I had a very good support system from home. My sister, she sent me like wonderful care packages. I was able to call once I got to my duty station. I was able to call home at least once a week, but it's still nothing like being there, being, with your family or
Yeah.
being near family. But that's when I learned how to make the military. That's when the military
Mhm,
became my
mhm.
family.
You know, what's interesting is, okay, as a second lieutenant, I was there was a friend who was in the company with me, the other female. And in our battalion, I think there was initially only one other female officer. So it was a challenge with who can you talk to? Who can you let down your guard for a bit? And who do you sit next to when you're told you're going to go to the officers club where we're all supposed to be drinking, whether you want to or not, and you're going to watch go-go dancers? Not exactly what I planned on in the military. You sit there and you bite your tongue, you sip at whatever you're supposed to drink, you smile, and you keep your mouth shut.
Okay. All right. Now, the jobs that you actually did in the military, how did that resonate with when you came home and started looking uh, for jobs?
Well, that's for myself. I was medically discharged from the service and told that I could never work, and I had qualms with it. But I got into the VA and I started doing um, volunteer work, and I worked in the offices and things. So it was good with me when I got out.
Okay, great.
My job was in communications, a switchboard operator, and
Well,
that was not a thing when I got out. I'm sure they may have had something at AT&T that could have been somewhat synonymous, but I doubt that they had power cables and generators and switchboards. But I did use the skills in, the job that you have, how you speak and, correct language and communications, and then just knowing about the terminology within the signal corps, it becomes familiar, but my job did not translate into a job on the outside.
Right, right.
I had been a teacher before I went in, and then I went back to teaching when we got back. And I was in Chicago, and I had to go before a review board, an oral board for my last bit of certification as a teacher. 3 men. And they wanted to know what I had been doing, why it was taking me a little bit longer to get totally certified. And I said, I was in the Army for 2 years. And one man looked straight at me and said, that doesn't count.
Oh.
We're not surprised anymore.
No.
We are not. Are you all surprised? No, I didn't think so. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was in logistics. So I went the opposite direction because I wanted to be a teacher. I went in the military so they would pay for me to go to school to be a teacher. I got out, I went to school full time. And although I didn't use my MOS to transition into my career, I used the leadership skills that I learned in the military, and it helped me be progressive, positive, and it gave me those leadership skills that I needed and the voice that I needed in my second school. My assistant principal would always say, okay, Sarge, because I've always been I've always had compliments on my classroom management skills. So,
Right, right.
She is totally right on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, my students always knew that I had a background that was
Yeah.
a little different.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to, how about the VA? How are you treated? But let's go with the medical first, and then we will move on to benefits, okay? So, and they kind of go together. So if you want to put them together, you can, but let's go there and let's see how different it may have been for each other. Who wants to go first? Okay.
For myself, I got severance pay when I got out of the service, and I went to San Diego, California, where I was stationed at when I was in 8th school. And I had an aunt, a cousin out there that lived there. So I went back to San Diego to live with her for a while, 12 years. And she took me to a doctor, Dr. Robert Shetler. He knew a lot about the military because he was in the military once upon a time. And he helped me to get on Social Security. And then I went through the VA and I met people there and in high places, and they helped me to get 100% disability.
Hmm.
I was discharged in '92, and I enrolled at Southern Illinois University at Carbondale to finish up my degree, because while I was in, I was taking college classes. And so I had that medical insurance, but then when I got out, I got married, I had a baby, and I was here in Chicago area. And I would go to Jesse Brown in the mid-90s to the women's clinic. And while the people were nice, they were inefficient. They were slow. I would be waiting. And then eventually I just walked away from it, especially when I got a job where it had medical care. And I was out of the system a good 10, 12, 15 years. But a couple years ago, I was at a vet meeting in the 6th Ward here in Chicago. And one of the gentlemen said, "You are leaving money on the table. You need to go to the VA. You need to get yourself checked out. You need to get your medical care." And I am absolutely glad that I took off work to go to this meeting, because he was absolutely right. So many things that I am still dealing with, they were like, this is this and this is this. It was all connected. Because you know, I think you're young and fine, everything's okay. But then you deal with stuff and you get a little older, it gets a little bit harder to deal with, a little bit harder to deal with.
Yeah.
So I tell people, don't waste your health on your youth. Pay attention. You won't be young forever.
Yeah.
And listen to your body.
Yeah.
Don't let somebody else tell you, "Oh no, it's nothing," because
That's
it is.
right.
So I am in the VA system 2 years now, and I must say they're a lot better, much more polite,
Mhm.
much more kind. On occasion, you'll get someone who is a little impatient. Like I had to tell the man yesterday at the pharmacy, "You're not listening to my question." And, you know, I guess everybody's like, "Uh-oh, now I'm not gonna snap off, but listen to what I'm saying." And so, yeah, it's a much better, improved situation. Not perfect, but improved.
Back in the mid-70s, we were even told to stay away from the VA at that time. One, military was, I didn't realize it, and I was kind of, I guess, naive to see how military people were being treated. But when I did go to the VA, I was told I wasn't eligible. 2 years ago, somebody from the VA was out in the 19th Ward where I am, and he said, "I am sure, no matter what you say, I think you're eligible." I do have a VA card now. Now,
After all these years.
50 years later.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
So my experience with the VA, as you guys said, they are nice, but they are a little inefficient. And I'm trying to go through the process now. I had to go in front of two doctors, and they looked down on me like I was asking for something that I did not deserve.
Mhm.
And I don't like that treatment, and I plan to fight it, but I have a problem with that.
Mhm. How many went to one hospital and then had to go to another? Anyone?
I did. I had endometriosis in the service. And when I went to San Diego, I went to University of San Diego hospital. And the guy, this doctor, he operated on me and then told me a lie and said I no longer had endometriosis. So I went to another outside physician. He's a gynecologist, real good gynecologist, Dr. Clyde St. Hill. He's out of Donald and Sharp Hospital. He told me I had fibroid tumors. And my cousin said, get them out as quickly as possible, so.
Okay. And how do you think we can help them more in the VA, you know, to fill in some of those blanks that are still missing?
They need to listen to the patients. That's what I feel.
And they need people that have been in the military because the civilians don't understand what we go through.
Mhm.
And I don't think they should group us, oh, you're a vet, or you are, every individual is an individual patient who might just happen to be a vet. I don't like when they say, oh, that's normal for you. For who, me, or you put me in a group of millions of other people? Are they the unique Michelle with one L? Or I don't like that. So fortunately, I haven't had much of that, but I pushed back on it. My care, I coordinate between the VA and I still use my workplace benefits because some clinics in the VA, in my opinion, are not as knowledgeable and sharp as what I'm getting someplace else. So if I have to go to 15 hospitals or 12 different doctors to
That's
get
right.
what I need, because it's the only body I got, I'm trying to go for the long haul.
That's right. That's right.
I haven't experienced any of this yet. I say yet because it's only it's been recent. But when I move, and at my age, who is accepting older, first-time, new patients? And so that's where, when I move, at least I'll be near a lot of facilities, and we'll see what happens. But it is, with any medical people, it's having them listen, actually listen, not just be writing down something while you're trying to explain. And there are too many people who don't. And VA is kind of at the head of that list, not listening.
I want to add, listen and don't judge.
That's right.
And how many of you have gone to the hospital and they've still asked you, are you here for your husband? Or are you the veteran? Or where's your husband? And
Yeah, not only at the VA, in some VA groups,
mhm,
going to a meeting, and I'm not gonna name anybody, throw anybody in the bus, they'll get it right one day.
mhm.
And they'll be like, oh, did your husband come with you? I said, if I was a man, would you have asked me if my wife came with me? Oh, I'm sorry. I said, don't judge, don't judge. So it just, not only in the VA or wherever, they always think, you're the spouse, the dependent of some sort.
Okay.
I was going to say is that when I was in the service, I was asked to join the Officer Wives Club. I mean, nothing in common other than I was serving with their husbands is what they were looking at. But it is true. I went in to meet with Windy City veterans. And the first thing, the men ignored me and the women wanted me to join the auxiliary. Where are you missing this?
Yeah,
It's going to be hard still for a while.
absolutely. And so how do you think as women, we're actually doing a lot of what we can do, not just to help ourselves, but to help others? So you think that it's going around where, we are helping more women now than we were before?
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I know I am. When I go to different places and I hear someone talking and they say something about being a veteran, I'm running up to that person like, have you heard of the NWVU?
Yes.
Yeah, let me tell you about it. I do because that's our job. We have to be the mouthpiece for the organization.
It is being visible as a veteran
Yes.
for the young women who might be thinking of the military, but for the others who have sat back and not felt like they were ever considered a veteran, which we saw with the one that Operation Her Story flight.
Absolutely.
Many women who didn't even think they counted
Mhm.
in the rest of the world. There they did, but
Yes,
not out with civilians.
yes. So is there anything else you would like to, tell about, the military or how you got treated when you came back? Um, Anything else you can think of that you want to push into that people you would want to tell people?
For me, the thing that shocked me the most was the very open and okay racism. It was rampant, it was thick, it was dense. I don't know how it is now, and I would like to know if it's better. I would hope so. And also that you don't have to be equating, like some people's like veterans, we fight in wars, we kill people. That is not what we do. We are protecting. So you can be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. We have your freedom. So I don't want people to equate that all people go into combat, they're killing people. We serve in so many different areas. It is amazing. And we do it quietly in remote places, out in the open, big campaigns. Just don't judge. Don't judge. Get to know, ask questions, and don't be afraid because most veterans, I would dare say, most want to tell their story or tidbits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anything else you want to share?
I have a poem that I wrote for, to tell her story.
Mm.
One other thing, and I was at a talk with some teenagers and their high school juniors and seniors, and I was just there being supportive of my niece. And I forget the moderator's name, but was like, basically people were considering going to the military. And they were like, don't, you need to go to school. I said, you can actually do both, because I did. And I said, I want people to stop deterring people from considering it. It's not a fit for everybody, just like college is not. But don't deter them, especially when you don't have the facts.
Wow.
Yeah, it was something, as a teacher, and I worked with high school students. I always, as I say, let my students know that I had a background that had a little difference in it, that you can do more than one thing with your life. And almost every year I had at least one young person come up to me, male or female, and they knew they could talk to me about their decision to go into the military when guidance counselors were saying, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, no, that's not for you. And I was able to support them quietly, or be thrilled when they come back and tell me that one young man, he jumped on one of the D-Day anniversaries with I think it was the 82nd Airborne. He jumped with a veteran and he came back, he was so proud of this. But nobody within his family grouping, so to speak, were as thrilled as I was. Or the young man who came back and is doing school at the same time that he's participating with the Navy. And he stopped in to say, this is my life and I love it. And to be proud of them, that in some cases their own families are not as proud.
Absolutely.
I want to say something else. A lot of things that happen in the military, these people, these civilians, they can't grasp it. They say, you tell them what happened to you and how people treat you. Oh, no, they didn't do that. You lying. They didn't do that.
I would like to add that I hope it's better now, but when I was active duty, I experienced sexual harassment. And it was so prevalent, it was just like, pass the eggs, open your legs. It was just that. And you don't recognize, I didn't recognize it. Maybe I was naive or whatever, because it was everywhere. I just hope that it's better now.